Ray Charles Robinson, better known simply as Ray Charles, was a musical pioneer who overcame blindness to revolutionize soul, R&B, and country music. His unmistakable voice earned him 17 Grammy Awards during his life. But beyond the spotlight, Ray Charles was also a father of 12, with children born between 1949 and 1987. He was married twice to Eileen Williams briefly, and then to Delabia Robinson for 22 years, yet many of his kids were born from other relationships. By the early 2000s, these children ranged from teenagers to middle-aged adults, scattered across the country. In 2002, knowing he was terminally ill, Ray gathered his family for an unprecedented meeting. 10 of his 12 children assembled in a Los Angeles hotel, some meeting half-siblings for the first time. There, Ray revealed his final wishes. Each child would receive a trust fund of $500,000, paid over 5 years, but the bulk of his fortune and control of his music would go to charity. He hinted there might be more down the line, which some took to mean they had inherent rights to his name and likeness. This emotional family gathering, the only time all of Ray's kids came together with their father, would soon prove bittersweet. Ray Charles passed away in June 2004, and confusion over his legacy sowed the seeds of conflict. So, who are Ray Charles's 12 children, and where are they now? Let's meet them one by one and discover how each has carried on, or struggled under, the weight of their father's legendary name. Number 12. Evelyn Robinson. Ray's firstborn child came into the world in 1949. A year before Ray Charles recorded his very first song. Ray was just 18 when he and his then-girlfriend Louise welcomed baby Evelyn in Tampa, Florida, where he cut the track "I Found My Baby There" early in his career. Though her famous father's journey was just beginning, Evelyn's life would follow a very different path, far from the glitz of show business. Growing up mostly with her mother, Evelyn saw little of Ray, who was often on the road. Instead of music, she gravitated toward education and business. As an adult, Evelyn proved to be an ambitious and multi-talented professional. She worked as a success coach, an event and travel manager, a health and wellness consultant, and even a manager at a legal services company. With a knack for technology, she also spent part of her career as a software engineer and systems analyst for Verizon. Evelyn didn't stop there. She went back to school and earned a master's certificate in project management from George Washington University, demonstrating the same determination that her father was famous for. Now, in her mid-70s, Evelyn resides in Boston, Massachusetts. Despite being the eldest child of a music legend, she has kept a relatively low profile. There's no record of Evelyn pursuing singing or stepping into the entertainment spotlight. Instead, she built a successful life on her own terms. Number 11. Ray Charles Robinson, Jr. Next is the son who carries his father's name, Ray Charles Robinson, Jr., born May 25, 1955. Ray, Jr. is the first of 3 children Ray Charles had with his second wife, Delabia Robinson. Raised in the Los Angeles home of Ray and Della, Ray Jr. grew up witnessing the height of his father's fame and also the strains that fame placed on their family. Perhaps that's why, as an adult, Ray Jr. dedicated himself to honoring and continuing his father's story in a thoughtful way. Now, nearing 70, Ray Charles Jr. has built a career in the entertainment industry, working behind the scenes rather than on stage. He stepped into the role of film producer and writer, even co-producing the acclaimed 2004 biopic Ray that earned Jamie Foxx an Oscar. Telling his father's story was clearly important to him. He also co-executive produced the tribute project Ray Charles, 50 Years of Music, and co-authored a memoir titled You Don't Know Me, Reflections of My Father, Ray Charles. Through these projects, Ray Jr. gave fans an intimate look at the man behind the music, sharing personal memories and preserving Ray Sr.'s legacy in film and print. In his personal life, Ray Jr. has found fulfillment as a family man. He lives in Los Angeles with his longtime partner, Rhonda Bailey, and is a proud father of 2 daughters, Aaron and Blair, and a grandfather to Kennedy. Those who know him say Ray Jr. has a warm, down-to-earth nature, perhaps shaped by seeing the ups and downs of fame firsthand. He's also shown a passion for community support, particularly in helping people struggling with addiction. It's a cause that no doubt hits close to home, given Ray's Sr.'s well-documented battles with heroin in the 1960s and possibly challenges within the family. According to his author, bio, Ray Jr. is committed to helping those in need in his community, especially those struggling with addiction. Despite some difficult chapters, including the tumult after his father's death, Ray Charles Robinson Jr. has emerged as a guardian of his father's legacy. He once recalled that his father told him, "You have my name, and you'll be able to use it." Ray Jr. took that to heart. Rather than exploiting the name, he used it responsibly to celebrate Ray Charles' life story and ensure the world remembers the real man behind the legend. Number 10. David Robinson. Born in 1958, is the second son of Ray and Della Bea Robinson. Growing up alongside his older brother, Ray Jr., in Los Angeles, David had a front-row seat to their father's remarkable journey. Where Ray Jr. gravitated to preserving his father's legacy professionally, David's life took a more private route, though not without its share of joy and pain. In interviews, David has shared fond memories of Ray Charles as a father. He admired how his dad never let blindness stop him. "I think that was a driving force in his life." Because of his discipline and what he was able to do, David reminisced, emphasizing the role of Ray's fierce independence in his success. This lesson wasn't lost on David. He carried his father's example of determination into his own life, even though he didn't pursue the limelight. David married his longtime girlfriend, Cynthia, and together they had a son, Conrad. Tragically, the Robinson family was struck by loss when Sergeant Conrad Robinson died at just 36 years old, while serving at Camp Bon Steel in Kosovo. Losing his only child was a devastating blow for David and Cynthia. Ray Charles wasn't alive to meet his grandson or console his son, but one imagines he would have shared in their grief. The resilience that runs in the Robinson blood was surely tested by this heartbreak. Today, David Robinson tends to keep out of the spotlight, much like his mother Della did. He has not written books or produced movies about his father. Instead, he seems content, cherishing the personal memories of growing up with Ray Charles as dad. In family matters, David has often been a steady, low-key presence, supporting his siblings from behind the scenes. As of his mid-60s, David can take pride in the legacy he does carry, being part of Ray Charles's story and exemplifying the values Ray instilled: discipline, perseverance, and love of family. Number 9. Charles Wayne Hendricks. Born in October 1959, Charles Wayne is Ray's son with Margie Hendricks, the electrifying singer from Ray's backing group, the Rayettes. Margie and Ray had a passionate, tumultuous relationship throughout the late 1950s. She was a powerhouse vocalist on hits like "Nighttime is the Right Time," and their affair was an open secret on the tour circuit. In 1959, it produced a son, Charles Wayne, named after his father, though he took his mother's surname, Hendricks. Charles Wayne's early life was marked by both music and tragedy. His mother, Margie's career with the Rayettes was cut short. She was fired in 1964 amid personal struggles, and she tragically died in 1973 at just 38 years old. Ray, despite his complicated history with Margie, stepped in to care for their teenage son after her death. One can only imagine the complexity of that situation. A blind superstar father, often away, suddenly solely responsible for a 13-year-old boy he barely knew. Perhaps as a result, Charles Wayne grew up largely out of the public eye. He did not become a musician or seek fame. Instead, he lived a quiet private life. As an adult, he married a woman named Marlene and settled in Aurora, Colorado, where they raised a family of their own. Friends described Charles Wayne as humble and soft-spoken, a far cry from the fiery stage presence of his parents. For decades, he stayed entirely off the media radar. Ironically, Charles Wayne Hendricks's name surfaced in headlines one final time, in relation to his father's music. In the early 2000s and 10s, he and several of his half-siblings took legal action to secure rights to Ray Charles songs. Ray's children believed they were entitled under copyright law to reclaim their father's songwriting copyrights, even though Ray's estate and charitable foundation objected. Charles Wayne, along with 6 brothers and sisters, filed termination notices to reclaim 51 of Ray's compositions in 2010. The Ray Charles Foundation challenged them in court, but in 2013, the children prevailed. A judge ruled the foundation had no standing to block the terminations, effectively upholding the kids' rights to reclaim Ray's music. It was a landmark moment. The family had won back a piece of Ray's legacy for future generations. Sadly, 2013 was also the year that Charles Wayne's own story came to an end. He passed away in May 2013 at the age of 53. His obituary noted that he was a beloved husband, father, and even a grandfather, roles he evidently cherished more than any spotlight. Number 8. Robert F. Robinson, Sr. From roadie to teacher to pastor, Robert Robinson, born 1961, has perhaps the most transformative journey of all Ray Charles' sons. Robert is the youngest of Ray's 3 children with Delabeb Robinson and was just a toddler when Ray's heroin addiction and touring life began fracturing his parents' marriage. After Ray and Dale's divorce in 1977, young Robert continued to be raised by his mother in View Park, California, with frequent visits from his famous dad. Those early years left a strong impression. Robert adored Ray, even working as a teenage roadie on tour to be close to him. However, as Robert grew into adulthood, he felt called down a very different path. He pursued his education diligently, attending prestigious Christian schools and even an aviation academy where he earned top honors. For a while, he worked as a flight instructor at a leading aviation school, instilling discipline and focus in his students, much like his father instilled in his music. But in the late 1980s, Robert experienced a profound shift. Troubled by news of the growing HIV/AIDS crisis and seeking greater purpose, he decided to devote his life to ministry. Today, Dr. Robert F. Robinson, Sr. is a pastor and community leader. He serves as the head pastor of Great Faith Ministries and schools, guiding others with compassion and faith. In this role, he has embraced the evangelist spirit that once helped his sister Sheila overcome her struggles. Robert's sermons often emphasize family, resilience, and not letting one's past define one's future, themes that resonate with the Charles family experience. Robert has also been one of the more outspoken siblings in the battle over their father's legacy. He publicly criticized Ray's former manager for cutting the family out of decisions. If you respect a man in his work, then you respect his kids. His blood is flowing through our veins, Reverend Robert Robinson said, passionately. To him, preserving Ray Charles's legacy isn't just a legal matter. It's a matter of family honor. Now, in his early 60s, with doctor in front of his name and a congregation to lead, Robert has journeyed far from the shadow of his father's fame. Yet, in many ways, he carries Ray's legacy more directly than anyone. Through faith, education, and service, Robert Robinson honors the memory of the father who taught him to always hit the road toward a better life. Number 7. Rainey Robinson. Born in 1961, the same year as her half-brother Robert, Rainey Robinson is Ray Charles's daughter, with Mae Mosley Lyles. She was named after her father, and, fittingly, has become one of the most vocal torchbearers of the Charles family name. If there's one person all of Ray's scattered children tend to keep in touch with, it's Rainey. She's been described as the unofficial spokesperson and central communicator among the siblings. Rainey grew up primarily with her mother, but remained connected to Ray and her half-siblings over the years. In her professional life, she wears many hats: tax preparer, legal shield representative, and credit repair specialist. Based in Los Angeles with her husband Kevin, Rainey has channeled her energies into both business and family. At 62, she's known for her friendly yet no-nonsense personality, someone who can crunch numbers by day and handle family conference calls by night. Her prominence among Ray's kids became clear during public events honoring Ray Charles. In 2016, for example, the White House hosted a special tribute to Ray Charles's music. Shockingly, most of Ray's children weren't invited. "We're usually the last to hear about it," Rainey told the Washington Post, highlighting how the family often felt sidelined in celebrations of Ray's legacy. She noted that 8 of the 12 siblings had been excluded from that high-profile tribute. Rainey's outspokenness on this issue shone a light on the lingering rift between Ray Charles' estate management and his biological family. Despite these challenges, Rainey Robinson has remained a peacemaker and advocate. She ensures that, even if the siblings aren't all close, they stay informed about important matters. When legal battles over Ray's music rights arose, Rainey was among the group of children who banded together to assert their rights. She has been determined that the Charles heirs have a say in how their father's image and music are used, fulfilling, in her eyes, a promise their father made. Rainey recalls Ray once encouraged her entrepreneurial spirit by involving her, along with Ray Jr., in a venture to sell Ray Charles merchandise in the 1990s. That experience, though later stifled by managers, gave her a taste of carrying the Charles legacy forward in a tangible way. Number 6. Sheila Ray Charles. The story of Sheila Ray Charles is one of redemption and love, intertwined tightly with her legendary father's, yet uniquely her own. Sheila was born in September 1963 to Ray and Sandra Jean Betts. Sandra raised Sheila in Cambridge, Minnesota, far from Ray's Hollywood life. As a result, Sheila spent limited time with her father, especially after her parents' relationship ended. However, those precious visits she did have with Ray remain treasured memories for her. Sheila's life was challenging from early on. Without a consistent father figure and feeling the weight of being a famous man's daughter, she drifted into troubled waters. In her youth and 20s, Sheila struggled with substance abuse, mirroring the demons her father had battled. She also endured traumatic experiences, including sexual abuse, incarceration, and even a major car accident that could have taken her life. At one point, she found herself in prison on drug-related charges, a dark period that she later openly discussed as a turning point. Hitting rock bottom became the catalyst for Sheila Ray's transformation. While incarcerated, Sheila found faith and hope. She forged a close bond with God and embraced an evangelistic Christian path, which helped her break free from addiction. With newfound purpose, Sheila decided to turn her life around completely. And what did she turn to? Music, the very thing that coursed in her blood. In 2005, not long after her release, Sheila recorded her debut album titled My Daddy, dedicated to Ray. Through soulful gospel and R&B songs, she paid tribute to the complicated yet unbreakable love she had for her father. It was as if she was finally duetting with Ray in spirit, healing old wounds with every note. Sheila went on to perform as a singer-songwriter and motivational speaker, often sharing her testimony to inspire others battling addiction or abuse. She moved to Sarasota, Florida, and built a life centered on faith, music, and her own growing family. In interviews, she expressed that she forgave her father for not always being there, and that she was grateful they reconnected before he died. Ray Charles lived to see Sheila's turnaround. One can imagine his pride as she sang Amazing Grace to him, metaphorically speaking. Tragically, Sheila Ray Charles passed away on June 15, 2017, at the age of 53, after a fight with breast cancer. Her death was mourned by fans who had come to love her uplifting spirit and by siblings who admired her courage. Number 5. Ryatha Butler. Born in 1966, is one who chose a deliberately private life. Ryatha is the elder of Ray's 2 daughters, with Mary Chantal Bertrand, a woman from Europe whom Ray was involved with in the 1960s. While her half-siblings were growing up in California or on tour buses, Ryatha spent much of her youth away from the spotlight entirely. Now, 57 years old, Ryatha has crafted a successful career in a field far removed from music, real estate. She is the proprietor of a real estate firm, running offices in Peyton and Falcon, Colorado. In this role, Ryatha helps families find homes, a poignant contrast to the unsettled on-the-road upbringing her father had. By all accounts, she is a savvy businesswoman and well-respected in her community. Ryatha is described by those who know her as exceedingly private. She rarely, if ever, grants interviews or talks about being Ray Charles' daughter. In fact, some of her neighbors and clients might not even know of her legendary lineage. Unlike some of her siblings, she has not been involved publicly in the Ray Charles Foundation's disputes or media tributes. She prefers to keep a low profile, focusing on her work and personal life, away from any drama. One can understand Ryatha's perspective. After all, Ray Charles had left her mother by the time Ryatha was a little girl, and he was a relatively distant figure in her upbringing. Choosing privacy may have been Ryatha's way to find stability outside the chaotic world of showbiz. She remains close to her younger sister, Alexandra, and the two share a special bond as the Bertrand sisters in the extended Charles clan. Number 4. Alexandra Bertrand, born in 1968, is the younger sister of Ryatha and the second daughter Ray Charles had with Mary Chantal Bertrand. If Ryatha is private, Alexandra is practically enigmatic. Now, 55 years old, Alexandra has maintained a highly private lifestyle, to the point that very little is publicly known about her. As a child of Ray Charles and a French mother, Alexandra's upbringing was at least partly in Europe. She was only a toddler when Ray's relationship with her mother ended. And unlike some of Ray's other children, Alexandra did not have much public interaction with her father in later years. She largely grew up outside the celebrity sphere. What we do know is that Alexandra currently lives her life away from the public eye. She has not stepped forward to participate in interviews or documentaries about Ray Charles. She did attend the family meeting in 2002, where Ray laid out his estate plans, but even there, she kept a low profile. Alexandra didn't join the legal battles or media events. Like her sister Ryatha, she seemed content letting her half-siblings take the lead in those matters. It's unclear what career or passions Alexandra pursued. Given her inclination for privacy, she could be anything from a business professional to an artist quietly practicing her craft. Her choice to avoid publicity might stem from a desire to be seen as her own person, not just Ray Charles' daughter. Number 3. Vincent Couturier. Born in 1977, Vincent Couturier is one of the youngest sons of Ray Charles. His mother, Arlette Couturier, was a Parisian whom Ray met in the late 1960s, and their long-term romance resulted in Vincent's birth when Ray was in his mid-40s. Vincent's upbringing was bicultural. Though born in Los Angeles, he was influenced by his mother's French and Armenian heritage and his father's African-American roots. As a child, Vincent visited his father occasionally, but grew up primarily with his mother. He developed a love for art and athletics, rather than performance music. After finishing high school, Vincent attended the University of Southern California, USC, for college. Surrounded by LA's creative energy and perhaps a few of Dad's old records, Vincent found his niche in the fitness and design realms. In his late 20s, Vincent achieved a special honor that connected him to his father's musical legacy. He designed the cover art for one of Ray Charles's albums in the late 1980s. Imagine being in your early 20s, getting to contribute creatively to a Ray Charles album. It must have been a proud moment for both father and son. That album cover stands as a quiet testament to their bond, art layered on top of art. Professionally, Vincent became a fitness trainer, including working at an MMA gym to help others get in shape. His passion for physical training indicates a discipline and focus that his father, in his own way, also possessed when mastering an instrument or a song. Vincent has kept a relatively low public profile. At 46, he's described as friendly yet reserved, someone who channels his creativity and energy into his work and hobbies rather than the celebrity circuit. Number 2, Robin Moffett. Robin LaJoya Charles. Ray Charles' penultimate child is Robin Moffett, born in 1978 on the west side of Chicago. Her mother, Gloria Moffett, had a brief relationship with Ray in the late 70s. Robin, who often goes by Robin LaJoya Charles professionally, inherited more than a little of her father's musical talent and entrepreneurial spirit. Robin grew up mostly in Illinois, far from her father's California world, but music was always part of her life. In her youth, she sang in church choirs and school plays, discovering a soulful voice reminiscent of her dad's passion. As a young adult, she moved to Atlanta, a city with a vibrant R&B scene, and pursued work as a singer-songwriter. For a time, Robin was affiliated with A-Class Productions in Atlanta, honing her craft in studios and live venues. While she didn't become a household name in music, Robin found success by blending her musical lineage with business savvy. In 2015, she founded R. Charles & Company Enterprises, a music publishing and consulting company. Through this venture, Robin helps other artists with song publishing, licensing, and navigating the industry, effectively paying forward some of her father's legacy to the next generation of musicians. It's a role that suits her. She's known as a sharp businesswoman with a big heart for artists' rights. Education has also been a priority for Robin. She studied at Columbia College, Chicago, focusing on vocal performance, music business management, and entertainment marketing. That combination of creative and business education gave her the tools to not only perform, but also manage the behind-the-scenes aspects of her career. Robin often mentions that understanding the business saved her from the pitfalls that many artist relatives of stars fall into. On a personal note, Robin is a dedicated mother. She has a daughter named Avari Rayan, whom she absolutely adores. Balancing single motherhood with running a company and making music hasn't been easy, but Robin embraces the challenge with a smile, perhaps imagining that her dad is somewhere behind those iconic sunglasses, smiling back proudly. Number 1, Ryan Corey Robinson Denbach. Last but certainly not least is Ryan Corey Robinson Denbach. Ray Charles' youngest child, born in 1987 when Ray was 56 years old. Ryan's mother, Mary Ann Denbach, is a Canadian-born actress and lawyer who was Ray's partner in the 1980s. From the start, Ryan's existence symbolized a new beginning for Ray, a baby born long after Ray's years of hard living and near the twilight of his career. Ray doted on the boy, though their time together would be cut short by Ray's passing when Ryan was only 16. Now, in his late 30s, Ryan Robinson Denbach shares more than just his father's last name. He shares Ray's love of music. Ryan has a YouTube channel where he showcases his musical endeavors, including some impressive covers of his father's classic songs. Imagine the pressure of singing Georgia on My Mind when the original singer is your own dad. But by all accounts, Ryan handles it with grace and a style of his own. He's not a carbon copy of Ray, who could be, but there's a familial warmth in his voice and a deep respect in the way he interprets the songs. Growing up, Ryan was actually at the heart of some of the Charles family's legal fights. Being a minor when Ray died, he was represented by his mother, Mary Ann, in the push for the children's share of the legacy. Mary Ann, an attorney, even filed lawsuits on behalf of Ryan and other siblings, alleging mismanagement of Ray's assets and image. In those battles, Ryan's name often appeared right alongside his older brothers and sisters, symbolizing unity across the generations. As he came of age, Ryan inherited not just money from the trust, but also a mission to safeguard and celebrate his father's memory. These days, Ryan keeps a somewhat low profile publicly. Aside from his online musical appearances, he doesn't court much press. He prefers to let his music speak for itself. Perhaps he's still finding his own sound, or deciding how much he wants a life in show business. The door is certainly open. After all, the Ray Charles Foundation even noted that Ray's grandkids and great-grandkids, 20 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren in total, may continue the musical dynasty, a family feud over a legacy. When Ray died in 2004, the children soon discovered that almost everything, the song catalogs, the licensing rights, the likeness, and a huge fortune in masters and assets, had been left under the control of Ray Charles Enterprises and the Ray Charles Foundation, as Ray intended. The children had their $500,000 trusts, but beyond that, their father's estate largely shut them out. To make matters worse, Ray's longtime manager, Joe Adams, took virtually complete charge as the estate's trustee and the foundation's director. Tensions simmered and then boiled over. The family felt that Adams was marginalizing them. They were even excluded from Ray's funeral plans. In a shocking incident, Adams reportedly interrupted a private family memorial service and had Ray's casket removed from the chapel, actions that outraged the children. "The biggest issue with me is disrespect for the family and kids," Reverend Robert Robinson said, expressing a sentiment shared by many siblings. By 2005 to 2006, several Charles children banded together to challenge what they saw as mismanagement and exclusion. Ray Charles Jr., Robert, Renee, Ryan, through Mary Ann Denbach, and others were involved in lawsuits against Adams and the estate's executives. They alleged that Ray's legacy was being mishandled, master tapes sitting idle, posthumous albums remixed in ways Ray never would have approved, and the family's input ignored. At stake were not only millions of dollars, but also the integrity of Ray's image and musical heritage. No one is as committed to RC as his family, Mary Ann Denbach, Ryan's mother, insisted, arguing that the people best suited to protect Ray's name were his own blood. One particular point of contention was the right to license Ray Charles's name and likeness. The will and trust were silent on this, but some children recalled Ray implying those rights would be theirs. Ray Jr. recounted that his father had told him he'd be able to use the Ray Charles name for ventures. Indeed, Ray had even set up a small merchandising partnership with Ray Jr. and Renee in the 90s to give them something of their own. But after Ray's death, Adams and the foundation apparently blocked nearly every attempt by the children to create Ray Charles-branded projects. The dispute escalated to a federal lawsuit filed in 2008 on behalf of 10 of the 12 children, accusing Adams of breaching fiduciary duties and freezing them out. While that case dragged on, another battle was brewing over song rights. By 2010, a majority of Ray's children discovered they had a legal avenue to reclaim their father's song copyrights under U.S. law, Section 304C of the Copyright Act, once a certain number of years had passed. Even though Ray had willed his song royalties to the foundation, the law didn't allow him to sign away his heirs' termination rights. So, in a bold move, 7 of the children served notice to Warner Chappell Music in 2010 to terminate Ray's prior publishing transfers and revert ownership of 60 of his compositions back to the family. The Ray Charles Foundation fought back hard, challenging the termination notices and even arguing that the children violated their earlier agreements, having accepted the $500,000 trusts. But in a series of legal victories for the family, courts sided with Ray's children. A judge ruled that the agreements Ray made his kids sign in exchange for the trust payments could not waive their statutory rights as heirs. Furthermore, in 2015, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals decided the Ray Charles Foundation lacked standing to interfere with the copyright terminations. This effectively meant the foundation could not stop the heirs from reclaiming their father's songs. And importantly, the children did not have to return their trust money either. These legal battles were complex and costly, but by standing united, at least a majority of them, Ray's children won a measure of justice and inclusion. They secured control over valuable song rights, ensuring that going forward, when you hear a Ray Charles song in a movie or commercial, chances are his family has a say in it and benefits from it.